Hello, everybody. Jim Urban here. I'm with Aaron Klein. We just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about what's going on in the real estate and the mortgage market today. And we have a couple of topics that we feel like really are like a top of mind topics. And one of them is the National Association of Realtors. And then we'll kind of follow up with the market a little bit as well, what's going on with the real estate market. So let's go ahead, Aaron, and go into this National Association of Realtors, where at this time, we now, as of 2 or 3 weeks, we have not seen a cooperation fee listed in the MLS now to the buyer's agent. So let's talk about how that's affecting things so far.
Yeah, it's interesting to me on the mortgage side, because we're seeing things after contracts are negotiated, and I really thought that we were going to see some changes. And thus far, whether my clients are buying on the East Coast, on the West Coast, in the Midwest, whether they're in Washington, Minneapolis, Denver, every contract I've received that's been written since the change, the sellers are still paying the buyer's agent's commission.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I expected. And I think not everybody was convinced of that, but at least so far, that's the way it's going. And I think it's something that you can't just, this thing can't just turn around overnight. It's something that has to work itself into it. So we'll kind of keep an eye on it for sure. But as of right now, as a realtor myself, when I talk to a buyer and I build a relationship with a buyer, uh, before we can see a house, we have to fill out that buyer agency agreement before we take them out there and show houses. So if you're getting ready to buy a home, just be prepared that your agent's going to want or insist that you sign a buyer agency before you go look at a house or houses.
And that's a good thing because it
Yeah.
keeps our buyers educated about what their obligations are to you, what your obligations are to them, rather than signing it after the fact. So it's not a bad thing.
And the other thing that I do in my buyer agency agreement, as well as my listing agreement, is I put an easy exit agreement in my contracts because I have so much confidence that they're going to enjoy working with me as long as we can work together well, which I usually have no problem. They're not going to want to go anywhere else anyway. And if they do decide to exit the market and not buy now or not sell now, um, I'll let them out. I'm not going to like force them, if you know what I
No, that's
mean.
that's integrity. That's like, hey, I'm here to serve you to the best of my ability. And if you don't feel like we're a good fit, that's okay.
Exactly. But most of the time, what it usually ends up being is something like, well, Jim, we were going to buy a home, but we are going to wait. Or, something changed with our job situation, and my husband or I'm going to get a raise in a month. So we want to wait till I get that raise before we actually buy a home or something like that. And
Right.
so we can hold off on the agreement, we can extend it, we can do whatever you want.
Mhm.
So.
I think what's important for people to know is just that they need to have a conversation with the real estate agent about explaining the contract and how it works.
Yeah, and the minute I start trying to force people to do things, that's when they're not going to want to work with me. So it's just not a good way of doing things.
No, none of us are here to force anybody. We're just here to help.
So really with this whole NAR thing, like honestly, there was so much hype and so much talk about it that I think that it was almost over the top. And
Mhm.
it's actually pretty simple. Right now, we simply just contact the listing agent. That's what I do as a realtor when I'm working with a buyer, and I just contact them to find out what they're offering. And if they're offering a fair compensation, then we can go show the house.
Mhm.
And if they're not, then the buyer's going to have to decide if they're going to pay all or some of the commission. But that hasn't happened yet. So where we've run into that yet, where the buyer has had to pay it. So I
Right.
think pretty good shape right now.
But and on our side, on the mortgage side, it's important that we have a conversation about that too, because if the eventuality should happen that a buyer is going to pay some commission, that's going to add on top of down payment and closing costs. And we need to talk about what could we do to manage that if we need to. And like you said, so far we haven't had to, but it's important everybody be part of that conversation so that the client knows how things would work.
Yeah, and I think right now with the market kind of like an equalized market, it's not Like during COVID, it was so much of a seller's market. Uh, and with more inventory that we have on the market today, sellers are pretty happy to pay a cooperation fee. They want their house sold. They realize that they don't want to put all that burden on the listing agent. They want everybody had to have that opportunity out there to bring a buyer into their home. They're happy to have whoever come in with the best offer, the highest and best right now. Because some houses are staying in the market 30, 60 days or whatever. And so they're ready to get an offer.
Right. Well, and as we know, the more people who can buy your home, the better you as a seller are going to do. So when you offer to cover that commission, that opens the doors to everybody being able to buy your home.
Yeah, and by chance, if you do get more than one offer, then all of a sudden now you do have competition.
Mhm,
And as on the seller side, that's what you want.
mhm.
And so you're more likely to make more money, put more money in your pocket if you do offer a cooperation fee. And I think most people realize that. I've had no argument from sellers saying, oh, now that it's changed, I don't want to pay a cooperation fee to another broker. I haven't seen that happen yet. So,
Well, and you mentioned, the inventory and how homes are staying in the market a little longer. And I think that's a really good segue into the second part of what we wanted to talk about, which is the fall market and what we're in now.
yeah, let's talk about the fall market. So here we are, just past Labor Day. People had their last hurrah, with the summer events. And people are going, okay, well, why should I buy a home now? Or why should I sell a home now? And is do I need to hurry up and get my house on the market, or do I need to hurry up and buy a house before it gets too close to Halloween or Thanksgiving or Christmas and all the holidays? The answer is, like the best time to buy is when you're ready. Like when you feel like it's time in your life to make a move. You shouldn't worry so much about the seasons or even the interest rates for so many reasons, even though that's part of the talk of this market is people are like going, well, I've heard rates might be coming down. Maybe we should wait until the spring or, maybe February, March next year when the rates might dip below whatever. But really nobody knows what's going to happen. And we always talk about you marry the house and you date the rate. And I love that conversation because you can always refinance if the rates actually do come down like they say they might. But now in Denver, we have over 10,000 homes for sale. And during COVID, we had 2,500 homes for sale
Mhm,
in the Denver metro area. A lot more choices, a lot more of what you might actually buy a home that you actually fall in love with, whereas just buying a home just because you want a roof over your head.
mhm. Right. Well, and also, we get into fall and it's a very real thing for a lot of families who have kids in school that they maybe aren't comfortable moving during the school year. And what does that mean for you as a buyer? It means you have less competition. If you are willing and able to move during the fall, you've got less people that you're going to have to compete with to be able to buy the same house.
Exactly. Well, so we talked about the inventory. Um, we also talked about less competition. So let's talk about that for a minute because when a buyer goes in, they write an offer on a house. If they're not competing with another offer, that's an advantage to the buyer. Because during COVID, the buyer a lot of times didn't even or couldn't even ask for an inspection. They a lot of times even were even considering waiving an inspection, which is kind of crazy to even think about doing that.
Mhm.
But they did it sometimes just to get the house.
Right.
But now, not only could they have an inspection, but they could actually ask for things that are important to ask for, like a furnace that's not proper, or if there's roof damage, you want the seller to get the roof claim, for the hail damage they never got done, or whatever.
Right.
These are the five majors of a house. During the inspection, it's so important to make sure that the buyer is not buying something that's going to have a bunch of problems. It's going to be, a nightmare for them after they close. everything's disclosed better, during this market.
Right. And you have time to be more thoughtful. You can do your inspection, you can be thoughtful about what you want to ask the seller.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so the answer is it's a good time to buy right now. It's just definitely a good time to buy. It's a good time to sell when you're ready. Don't worry so much about the market, what the rates are, and don't even worry so much about the election. Like, I'm not even sure how much the election plays into the whole picture of it anyway.
Right. Right. When it's time to move, it's time to move. And once you buy the house, the interest rate market's going to be what it is. And like you said, if there then becomes an opportunity to refinance, now you've already bought the house. When rates drop, you get a lower rate, but you're not having to go out and compete against 20 other people to buy the same house in a more competitive market, because that's what's going to happen. When rates come down, a lot more people are going to be looking to buy the same house.
Right. Well, let's kind of wrap it up. Like I think we've touched those two topics pretty well and kind of in a nutshell. If you guys have any more questions about buying now or waiting or want to get pre-qualified, we'll get Aaron to get you pre-qualified and get things going. You definitely don't want to put the cart before the horse. We want to make sure we get that squared away ahead of time.
Right.
And so we should figure that out before we actually go out and look. And then also then get that buyer agency in place, and then we're ready to go at that point.
And then it's fun to buy a house because you don't have to worry about going through the agency agreement after you've found a house, and you don't have to worry about can you get financing, because that's all in place, and then it makes it a good experience.
Yeah, speaking of fun, let's kind of end with that. Like right now, it's actually a lot more fun to work with a buyer than it was during COVID when you were writing offers on 3 or 4 houses and sometimes even more than that before you'd actually get one. So like you could write an offer and have a pretty good chance of you're going to get your offer through.
Mhm.
And it's exciting. It makes it more enjoyable. And I just love this market so much better than the other market. I wish it would just stay like this, but we know it won't.
Right. Change is constant.
So that's why it makes it a good time to buy, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks, Aaron, so much for doing this little video duo again with me, and I sure appreciate it because I think we hit on some good points today.
Absolutely. Hopefully everybody finds it helpful.
Yes, so have a wonderful day. Please don't keep us a secret and enjoy your fall. We'll see you later.